Welcome to Unselfishly Me, a podcast all about self-love, self-care, and everything in between. I'm Jane, a personal trainer with a focus on self-love. Each week, we'll be chatting to someone about their self-love journey, how long it took, and what it took to get there. Today's guest is a friend of mine. I call her Ash. Her name is Nicola, but her brand is called Ask Ashe with an E. So I call her Ash. I don't think anyone really calls her Nicola. We met on Twitter a few years ago, and she is basically my mentor for my business. I book in and I see her for business-related chats. She helps to keep me grounded and on track. And yeah, she's just so incredible with social media and business branding, and I just love having her as a sounding board. She really does make a difference in my life. So she's all things digital, and I'm going to chat to her today about self-love, self-care, and social media. So welcome to Ash, aka Nicola, even though that sounds so weird to call you Nicola. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I think I should start with why everyone calls me Ash.
She's being all
and then
shy.
says, "Oh my gosh, should we call you Ash? Why? What is your name?" I was one of those people who was called my surname from school days. My name is Nicola. My surname is Ashe. My name is not Ashley. When people call me Ashley, they definitely don't know me very well. So my business is called Ask Ashe because I was always asked questions about anything and everything, and I always joked and said, I'm going to call my business Ask Ashe. And I did. And originally it was a blog, and over the years, it's actually 10 years that I've been blogging this year. Crazy. Over the years, it then evolved into something that became my business, which is a brand consultancy that I run here in Durban.
And I look at her as my mentor.
You say that to everybody.
No, I don't. Well, I don't actually, shame. If I've said that to you, I'm sorry. But no, I book in with Ash for all my business things and ideas and everything, because she just literally clears out the clutter. I have a lot of it. And she clears it out, and she helps me focus on what needs to be done.
Yes, there's a lot of clutter.
Yeah, so much.
Jane.
Even on my laptop. Let's not even go there. So question 1, what does self-love mean to you?
You know what? Self-love it's not actually something that I think about in my day-to-day, but in a weird way, it's something that we should all be thinking about in our day-to-day. I think perhaps we're thinking about it but not identifying it as self-love. And for me, it's a little bit about setting up what you will and won't allow into your life on a daily basis, be it in work, relationships, the kind of things that you decide to expend your energy on. All of those different things together actually make up what self-love is. I think it's something that a lot of people feel has become a little bit esoteric, self-love and self-help and all these different things that people are now touting about. Make time for yourself, and some people look at it in a negative way because it's almost become like a word that just gets bandied about. When realistically, if you don't put a label to it, it's actually something that we should all really be doing on an ongoing basis without there being a label attached to it. To me, self-love is something that I believe is got to do with boundaries. And it's about working out where your boundaries are and what you will and won't allow into your life as a result of what that boundary is.
Yeah.
That's for me what self-love is in a nutshell.
Definitely. So what has your self-love journey looked like?
Contrary to what some people might think, where they look at me or they speak to me and they say, you've just got everything together and you seem to have everything worked out. I'm in my 40s now, and it wasn't always like that. It 100% was not always like that. I was one of those people who definitely took the hard route. If it was too easy, it wasn't for me. I think up until the point when I realized that unless you defined exactly what it was that you wanted to do when you woke up every day and what you wanted that day to look like, you were basically going to be reacting to every single situation, as opposed to strategically defining what you wanted your day, your life, your business, your relationship, your financial situation. Unless you actually come up with what you want that to look like strategically, and that's actually just a really fancy word for saying plan it, just plan it, then you really are just winging it. And I think my journey to working out exactly how I could, put this sort of self-love into my life was really defining exactly what I was prepared to put up with and what I was 100% not prepared to put up with. I had a childhood that wasn't very distinguishable from any other. It was the same as most people growing up in South Africa. I then had jobs straight out of school. I traveled a bit. It's what most people's life looks like. I worked in corporate advertising. I worked in print production. I worked in TV production. All those creative industries. And I think, in a way, those were actually things that were leading me towards the decision of what I was actually wanting to do with my life. So when I look at a journey of self-love, it wasn't something that came naturally. It was something that happened as a result of the environment that I was in. Having been in a very creative environment for so long, corporate advertising in itself is one where you are working in jobs that you're not necessarily passionate about. You're having to do a job in order to earn a salary. There are certain things that you have to do in order to earn that salary, and it all just became a little bit like
hamster wheel.
Totally hamster wheel. Yeah,
same thing, different clients.
Exactly. I'll often say to people that I'd sit in meetings and I'd be like, guys, we're not solving world peace. We're selling X product, and that product is damaging the environment, and we don't really need it, and it's really bad for you if you eat lots of it. But
let's make a great pitch.
Yeah. So I also know that not many people are as lucky as I am to be able to draw that line in the sand and go, okay, well, this is what I want, and then actually work out how to get it. But I think there definitely came a turning point where I was like, this is not it for me. This is definitely not enriching me. I'm not passionate about it. I think whilst I wasn't necessarily aware at the time that it was a journey to find self-love, I think that in hindsight, I can look at it now and realize that I was determining exactly what I wanted my day to look like, my future to look like, and what I was willing to let into my life. And that it came about as a result of the job I was in and the environment that I was in.
Because if you choose those things, you're choosing to put yourself first. So it is all about actually self-love.
Absolutely. I mean, I totally understand that there are some people who can't change their circumstance because they have dependents, people relying on them, but they can't just walk away from a job because then they won't have the means to pay for things, etc., etc. But I do believe that in every single situation that people are in, whether you're in a job right now, that means that is what's paying the bills, that everybody, especially with the age that we're living in now, with the access to the information that we do, that everybody has a means to investigate something else that they could be doing. And if they're not, then in a way they haven't worked out what their self-love journey actually is. Because if you're willing to settle, if you're willing to just put up with it because you don't think that you deserve better, then that will be your mindset forever. But if you're actually willing to work at what you need to at the moment in order to keep your head above water, to keep the bills paid, etc., but then on the side, be investigating how you could perhaps change that situation, then for me, you've already taken a step towards discovering exactly what that self-love journey looks like, because you're starting to actually ask yourself, what do I want to accept, and what do I not like about this situation that I might find something different in another, and how do I get there? How do I get from point A to point B? my point A to point B journey was 100% not a straight line. There were a couple of lefts and rights and 10 steps backwards. But I think that actually defines the journey. You know,
How boring would it be?
Yeah, totally. If it was easy, more people would do it, and there wouldn't be that huge sense of satisfaction at the end of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not an easy road, but I think it's something that once you decide that you're going to actually start on the road, pack your bag. There might be some extra baggage that you keep adding to the bag, but at least you're on the road.
And you're on your own road.
Absolutely.
So what little self-care things do you do daily?
So I am a creature of routine. I don't meet anybody before 9 o'clock in the morning. If I've ever met you before 9 o'clock in the morning, please know that you are very special.
I'm sure you came to Secret Sunrise that one day too.
Just once. Just once.
I feel very special.
I mean, whilst that sounds funny, I don't meet with people before 9 a.m. It's because I like to wake up a certain way. I like to set my intention for the day. I like to have a look and see what the things are that are on the schedule. I am also someone that works in an industry that relies very heavily on social media. So for me, I wake up, I have my coffee, I open my phone, and I go through all my different channels. It's my opportunity to check up on news, to check up on the social media channels, to see what's happening in my own brand accounts, as well as a lot of the clients that I work with. And I don't necessarily jump onto the traditional news sites. I don't follow any news channels, strangely enough. I'm rather inspired by what's going on in the design world, what's going on creatively, what's going on in interiors, etc., etc. So I like to wake up in that sort of mindset. So, and then one of the other things that I do that's not necessarily daily, I make sure that I have planned throughout a week, or if it's not able to be done in a specific week, that definitely it's done in a month. I set appointments that are appointments with myself, whether or not it's a hairdresser or going to have a manicure or a massage or something like that. It's actually an appointment that I've set intentionally, because I believe that if you don't set those things, then all of a sudden a couple of weeks go past and you wonder why you completely frazzled and you haven't, done anything that's made your mind switch off for any amount of time. And those are just things that I make sure that I plan into every single day with intention.
I love it. I need to go and do my diary.
Set appointments.
So you've always seemed to be so good with setting boundaries. How did you get to that point, and how do you enforce it?
I suppose from a boundary perspective, when you're in a job where you're working for somebody else and there are deadlines and you have to obviously meet those deadlines, it's not as easy to set boundaries that you will turn around to your boss and say, well, no, I'm not actually going to do that by that time, because that environment doesn't allow for that. So how I got to the point that I am now, where I could establish my own boundaries, I pretty much was in a job where I got to the point where I believe in hindsight that I had a proper nervous breakdown. It just wasn't working for me anymore. I was completely stressed out. The passion was gone for everything that I was doing. I didn't like the jobs that I was actually working on. I didn't enjoy the people that I was working with. And I just felt completely and utterly brain drained. And I took a long, hard look at what it was that I actually wanted, and what did that look like. I don't necessarily think that everybody should do it the way that I did. And the way that I did it was I quit my job with no other job to go to. But it was a turning point. And I took some time off, about 3 months, and I looked at, what were the bits that I wanted to do, and where I could perhaps add value with the skill set that I had. And I basically designed the job and the life that I wanted. And I'm acutely aware that is not available to everybody. So in saying that, it was something that I did, because if I didn't, then there was going to be huge fallout. And I made sure that I set boundaries that were going to be beneficial for me first, because if I didn't take care of myself first, I couldn't take care of anyone or anything around me. And it sounds really selfish to some people. But, I mean, the whole theme of everything that you do about being unselfishly me is that you look after yourself first. What do they say in an airplane? If the oxygen masks fall down, make sure you put yours on first.
I've literally put that in my course.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Yeah.
It's like you cannot help anybody around you if every single thing in your mind is screaming out for help. So yeah, I set boundaries and I enforce them. I am so strict to the point of how I run my business now that there are certain days that certain things happen. One of my good friends, Nadia Jonker, was Nadia van der Mesh, she's now Nadia Jonker, started this thing where when everyone wasn't eating meat on a Monday, MEAT, she changed it to MEET, and there were no meetings on a Monday. She didn't meet with anyone. So that was her meat-free Monday. And I was like, I'm going to do the same thing. And I don't do meetings with people on a Monday because it's my way of finishing off what I didn't do the week before or setting up the week ahead. Meetings will be on Tuesdays and Thursdays, work done on a Wednesday, and then Friday will be finishing off the week, or if I've managed to clear everything off my plate, booking myself in for a massage or having my nails done. And when people then say, okay, well, we need to set up a meeting with you, I actually look at my month-to-month planner, and if I've got full meetings on Tuesday and full meetings on Thursday and there's space on Friday, but I know that it's my me day, I'm fully booked.
Yeah.
And that's what I think that women specifically, they try and fill every single day with so many things because they feel like they owe it to everybody around them. And you don't. If you do that, and if you full from 8 till 5, Monday to Friday, every single week, and then you're getting to Saturday and you haven't finished everything off and you got no time for yourself, you created that monster.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing, is that you have to establish what that boundary is first. Until you do that, you're going to self-sabotage yourself every single day, and you are going to get on that hamster wheel. So yeah, I set the boundaries and I don't deviate. If I deviate, it's on my own terms.
Yeah.
And if I do meetings Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, then there's absolutely no ways that there's going to be any meeting whatsoever. No people interaction come that Friday. And
your day.
yeah, I mean, it sounds selfish. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
I think it's amazing. I'm actually going to go and look at my diary now, and I'm going to see what changes I can make.
Schedule some me time, Jane.
Well, a Monday. I've done that for a Monday. Like a Monday, I don't actually, because I work every weekend now till Christmas. A Monday, I don't have anything until 12. Yes. Yeah. Thanks, Nadia.
I think you should do it all the way till 4 p.m.
Yeah. I've got kids yoga, so they're the only ones that are, But yeah, I'm going to do that. Try and make it like meat-free Monday with people. Thank you. And what do you love about your work and the brands that you work with, and are they mainly female run?
So, strangely, when I started my business, it was all focused at small businesses. I wanted to really take what I had learned in the ad industry and working with big brands and use exactly the same principles when it came to small business. It actually doesn't matter how much budget you've got if you use it properly. So it's really empowering to be able to take a small business and make it as successful and as recognizable and have the right people find out about it as a big brand is doing when it's got hundreds of thousands of brands. In saying that, when I started out and I made the decision to only work with small business, that has been the trend for the last 4 years of being on my own. I am, however, in a situation now where I am being approached by slightly bigger businesses. I have tended to veer away from corporates just because it doesn't gel with me and the kind of brands and the kind of work that I want to do. But I'd say that small to medium-sized businesses are the ones that I work with predominantly. And whilst it was mostly female in the beginning, it's a good mix now. So it doesn't matter whether you are male or female. I don't veer towards one more than the other. I do, however, notice that there are a lot more females who are taking the leap to open their own businesses, whereas it's maybe more something innate to men to just go off on their own. And oftentimes they don't really think that they need help. So a lot of the businesses that are new and that are starting out and that I'm doing a lot of one-on-ones with are women who are wondering how to expand or how to brand or how to actually market a business that they've been sort of doing on the side, and now they actually want to take it more full time. But no, I'd say that there's an equal mix between male and female, and I love working with all brands.
All are welcome. What advice would you give to women out there who are struggling with direction?
Plan.
And you can do this with her planner.
No, that's honestly not the reason I'm saying it. I actually met with someone this morning, and it was such an amazing conversation that we ended up having, because she wanted to get direction in her business, and I asked her whether or not she had written a list of all the things that she needed to do, and she was like, I've got a list. And I was like, no, but really, are all the millions of things that are in your head written down somewhere? And she's like, no, I haven't written everything down. So I was like, well, the first thing you need to do is you need to write everything down, and then what inevitably happens is that you end up with a list that's so long that you then don't know how to prioritize any of those things. So now you're overwhelmed by the fact that this list is so big, so you then start trying to make a list of your list. Okay, well, that list is for that stuff, and then that list is for that stuff.
This is just me.
And we all do it up until the point that we then take the stuff that is on the list and plot it into a planner. There are so many hours available in a day. There's so many hours available in a week. You cannot do everything. No. So unless you actually assign a time to do the thing and actually plot it in a planner, there's no ways it's going to get done. When there are 400 things floating around in your head, you literally don't know what to do first. So what we do is we self-sabotage ourselves, and we do the easy bits. We do the bits that are quick, and we do the ones that we can get off our plate quickly, because it makes us feel like, oh, I did something. I can put a big tick next to it. So that is what we do. We wake up and we go, I've got X, Y, Z to do today, and I'll do it later. I'll just have a coffee first, and then I'll think about it. And then all of a sudden, 3 easy things come up, and we do them. And what have we done? All we've done is we've wasted time, because that big thing seems so unattainable, and we feel like we don't have the energy or the creative energy to deal with it right now. Totally, that we'll leave it till the end. Whereas if we'd just taken that thing and we had set a start date and an end date, and we'd actually then put that into a plan, whether it's a monthly plan or a daily plan, or whatever works for you. But until you go, okay, it has to be done by 3 p.m. on Friday, the 4th of whatever, then it's not written down in paper in black and white. And then once it's actually got that end date and you've planned when you're going to do it by, you've actually then got to execute steps in order to get there. So say, for example, it is a research project and you have to write an article at the end of it. I mean, I'm just giving you a really random example. There's research to be done, whether it's online or whether it's going physically to places. And then there's the time to actually sit down and write the article. And then maybe you've got to go and find a whole lot of image reference as well, or you've taken pictures and you have to edit them. Those are all little mini individual things that you have to do in order to achieve that end goal. You have to plot every single one of those things into a planner around your personal life, that thing that you wanted, which is why you've got your own business, in order to get them done. So when you are doing what you do, as well as having a child and podcasting with people and all the different things that you throw into your day, unless you schedule time for all of those little bits in order to get to that end thing, it stays in your head. And it festers there, and it drives us mad. So literally, the advice that I can give to people who are struggling with direction is to take everything to a plan. And again, whether it's monthly or daily, it's all about creating a start date and an end date, and what you can actually do. What are the steps that you can actually turn into little projects in order to get there? That is how you get direction. Write it down.
I'm going to. What do you love about social media and dislike?
Okay, so social media has a really, really bad rep. I think it's because it's something that you can either let take over your life or you can let it enrich your life. I'm sort of on the cusp. Sometimes it takes over my life, because it's my job. And then sometimes it's something that I find such joy in. And the reason that I will find joy is because I discover brands, I discover small businesses, I discover people who are doing incredible things through social media. I don't think you and I would even be friends if it wasn't for social media. We met on Twitter.
I think Twitter,
We met on Twitter. And I can actually name people that Jane and I know in common that we all met through Twitter. We follow each other virtually as well as know each other in real life. But then we've also got like this whole group of people around South Africa and the world who we follow and are friends with, and I'm doing the inverted commas motion here, that we've never met in real life. And we actually have really strong connections and relationships with these people, despite never having met in person. I suppose it's the modern version of a pen pal.
Yeah.
But you're just so connected and you just gel with each other on a level that a lot of people that I've known for my whole life, I don't even have that relationship with. So when I look at social media, I look at it from the positive side, as well as, yes, there is sometimes a negative side. The negative side is if you are constantly comparing yourselves to others, if you are wishing that you had what they had, and wondering how to get there and letting that dominate your mindset. But for me, I've just really embraced it from the perspective of, number one, in business, a small business using social media well can get discovered and their business can go from zero to hero exponentially in such a short amount of time, and you can actually have a thriving business as a result of using social media correctly, as well as from a personal perspective of meeting people online, not even in real life, meeting people online and finding commonalities and realizing that deep down we're human beings. And whilst you don't want to live your whole life online, there is a nice feeling in being able to find people who have the same interests and feel the same way about, I don't know, design and creativity and, goal setting and stationery and all that kind of stuff. I mean, there are people like us all around the world, and you don't have to meet them in real life in order to actually embrace what it is that they're doing.
No, for sure. So leading on from that, do you think social media affects people's vision of themselves and that they compare themselves too much?
Absolutely. It's something that I struggle with, particularly when you think about we're from a generation that grew up without social media and now with social media. So we can see the difference between what it's like not having it and what it's like having it. Whereas I sometimes feel quite fearful for the generation that are growing up in the era of social media. It's something that I see happening a lot in schools where kids are definitely comparing themselves to others, or they can see that there's a party on and they weren't invited and they basically got to live that whole party sitting at home, or they can see their friends posting all these stories about, being at the party. That didn't happen when we were growing up. You only found out on Monday that you weren't invited. You weren't actually at home in your bedroom on a Saturday night wishing you were there. But I think it's prevalent in adults too. There's the whole, whilst that saying is keeping up with the Joneses, now it's a case of, her house is so beautiful, or the way she dresses is so amazing, and her relationship looks so awesome, and they're always going on holiday, and I wish I could go to Greece, and there's that happens. But I'm quite I don't know, I've never wanted to be like everybody else. So I don't necessarily find myself comparing myself to others. Yes, of course, I'd love to go on an overseas holiday, but I don't look at someone's social media and compare myself one-on-one, almost because I don't want. I'm anti that. But I do definitely feel how it could happen with some people. And I think it's something that we all just need to talk about more. And understand that, some people do struggle with self-identity issues, and whether or not social media was there, I think that would still be happening to them, I think social media has definitely increased the frequency with which people will compare themselves to others. Brands will compare themselves to others. I mean, yes, I work with brands all the time who go, I'd love to be like, or I want my Instagram feed to look like. Use it as inspiration and aspiration. And then if you're a brand that wants to be like someone else, rather emulate the emotion of that brand than copy them.
Yeah, please.
So yeah, I think that's where I'm just going to leave that.
Yeah. So you've always been a big advocate of there being space for everyone and that you should focus on your own work and business instead of comparing yourself or competing with others. How do you think we can practice that more? Because it is quite easy to fall into that trap.
I think exactly what I said just on the last question is there's so much information out there and there's so much inspiration and there's so many people who are doing what they're doing online really, really well. And I think if you can take it and be inspired by it and put your own twist on it, people will gravitate towards that more than just being the next copycat of something else. That being said, I mean, how many more original ideas are there actually left in the world? And that's the thing. I mean, with Instagram, with Pinterest, with, you know, so many different ways for us to find information so quickly. And you know, a trend just has to be a trend for one flippin' hot minute, and then everybody's on it. But coming up with an original idea, an original design, an original anything is very, very hard. I've always looked at it from the perspective of if someone came to me and said, I've got this amazing idea, and I knew that it was very similar to somebody else's, I point out to them what it is that is similar. And then I work out with them how they could make a point of difference. How could you make it yours? I mean, let's use scatter cushions as an example. If the big retailers sell them, individual small gift stores, etc., sell them. Interior decorators make them up. A scatter cushion is a scatter cushion. There is not a lot of ways to make a scatter cushion. But being a person who then perhaps opens a scatter cushion store and curates it a certain way so that the scatter cushions that you put together in colorways, or the fact that the prints mismatch, or the fact that you can get some square and some oblong and some rectangle, is immediately different to maybe what someone else is doing. It's still a scatter cushion, but you've curated it in a way that gives your brand a little bit of a different spin on it. And that's what I'm always saying to people, is that don't compare yourself to others. Don't look at someone and go, oh, well, they copied my idea. I don't really believe in that thing that says if someone copies you that you should be flattered. I get a little bit irritated when people copy me. But you know, the thing is it's like you can't dwell on it. So when someone does copy, I don't know, like,
level up. Find something new, add on to it.
Whether you find something new or carry on doing what you're doing, carry on doing it in your way. I believe that you will always attract your right kind of customer because they gel with you and your brand, and they wouldn't have gone to that other brand that copied you in the first place.
Exactly.
I mean, it's that cut and dry. I literally, if someone wants to do exactly the same thing as me, I let them. Because the kind of person that is my target market and the kind of person that I do work with just doesn't gel with that person. There's space for everybody, and there really, really is. There's enough work. There is enough for everybody to have a piece of pie. There's enough for everybody to sit at the table. If what you are doing it so that you are doing it the best way that you can, you will instantly attract the kind of business that you should be getting. If you are going around telling people left, right, and center, so-and-so copied me, and this one did this, and that one did that, that's just letting all that negativity rule everything that you're doing. So, there's enough space at the table.
I agree. So where do you see Ask Ashe in the next 5 years?
Can I say on an island sipping pina coladas?
Can I visit?
I'm going to own the island.
Just kidding.
No, so I definitely see Ask Ashe still helping small business. I think that there will be a lot of online presence. Oh, that's sounding so like not really trying to say exactly what's happening. I just think that with the way that online is moving and the ability for small businesses to get online so easily, that a lot more of the stuff that I'm going to be doing with businesses is trying to convince them to go online as soon as possible.
Okay.
So whilst I have spent a large amount of the last couple of years working with brands that don't necessarily end up online, I definitely see that the brands that I'll be working with more in the next 5 years as being brands that will go online. And they don't necessarily have to have an online store that only then operates in South Africa. I see these businesses being either having a separate business that is overseas or shipping all over. There are some very exciting things happening in the online space. I partner with a digital agency in Durban, the Digital Media Collective, and it's really exciting to be able to work with a team who they really understand the online world, and the whole everything that's happening in e-commerce, and the fact that it is now so easy for a small business to get online and to start selling a product immediately, and to start seeing some incredible return on investment. So for me, Ask Ashe, I think will always work in the space where, whilst you're going to go online, your brand needs to look a certain way, and your brand needs to behave a certain way, and needs to have some kind of an emotional connection. When people open a website or open your social media, they need to have some kind of an emotional connection with that brand through what their feed looks like, and through how their logo is designed, and through the colors that they're using. But I definitely see that not only being just a small business that you run and perhaps trade at a market or something like that, that you actually look at taking that extra step and going online.
So much to look forward to. So where can people find you on social media, and if they want to book a business consult with you?
So my website is askashe.com, which is ASHE. My social media handles are also all Ask Ashe. From a business consult,
are you only available in January 2020?
I'm only available in February 2020.
I'm aware.
And that's not because I've booked lots of me time.
No.
It's because, the November is Black Friday month.
Oh yeah, for you it's insane.
It's the busiest time of the year. And then we roll into the e-commerce festive season. So November and December are crazy. And then I am taking some time off.
Yeah.
And only opening again end of Jan.
Amazing. So I will put all of that in the show notes so you guys can go click on over and get some tips. But thank you, Ash, for being here.
Thanks, Jane.
I'm not going to call you Nicola ever again. I can't. Even typing it out just felt so wrong. And
I'm only in trouble when people call me
yeah,
Nicola.
no, I just can't. I'm like, even my mom, I'm like introducing them and I'm like, oh God, I can't say Nicola. I just can't. But thank you so much for being here. And I will see you guys next week. Thanks for listening to Unselfishly Me. Follow us on Instagram at unselfishlyme and check out our website www.unselfishlyme.com.